Most people live small. They lower their voice. They shrink their dreams. They wait for permission. Why? Because deep down they believe someone else is better. But here is the truth. Nobody is better than you. Different skills? Yes. Different experiences? Yes. Better? No. And when you start acting as if you are the best, your life changes. Today, I will teach you how. Comment, I am the prize. Number 1. Know your value. You say you want respect, yet you negotiate your standards every week. You say you want loyalty, yet you ignore red flags because you are afraid of starting over. You say you want peace, yet you constantly check your phone for reassurance, as if your stability depends on another person's mood. That contradiction is the reason you struggle, because value is not something you announce. It is something you embody under pressure. Right now, pressure exposes you. When responses slow down, you overthink. When plans change, you personalize. When attention shifts, you tighten up. That tightening reveals dependency, and dependency destroys perceived value immediately. So understand this clearly. Your value equals your ability to remain centered when circumstances shift. Most men collapse internally while pretending externally that they are composed, and that split drains power daily because your mind becomes reactive instead of directed. The solution begins with radical self-audit, where you sit down and write exactly where you abandon yourself in relationships. Do you cancel your priorities to be available? Do you adjust your opinions to avoid disapproval? Do you tolerate inconsistent effort because you fear being alone? Do you accept low investment while giving high investment? If you answer yes to any of these, you are communicating that your time and energy are negotiable, and negotiable men are never prioritized. You must rebuild value from the ground up, starting with discipline, because discipline creates internal authority, and internal authority removes desperation. Desperation leaks through your tone, your timing, your body language, and your decisions. Begin by structuring your day in a way that proves to yourself you are reliable. Wake up at a fixed hour. Train your body whether you feel motivated or not. Complete one difficult task before entertainment. Track your progress weekly. Eliminate one habit that weakens your focus. When you consistently execute on commitments, your mind stops seeking external validation because it witnesses internal strength. From that strength, you no longer panic when someone pulls back. You observe instead of react. You assess instead of assume. You continue your routine instead of chasing reassurance. That calm continuation shifts dynamics because you stop rewarding inconsistency with increased effort. You stop interpreting distance as rejection and start interpreting it as information. Information empowers you to decide rather than beg, and that is where value solidifies. A man who decides is different from a man who pleads. You must detach your identity from relationship status entirely, because if your self-image rises and falls based on romantic success, you are fragile, and fragility invites instability. Expand your identity. Build skills. Increase income. Strengthen friendships. Pursue long-term goals that have nothing to do with attraction. Notice how your posture changes when your life contains direction. A man with direction does not obsess over temporary shifts in attention. He measures people by how they align with his path, not by how intensely they validate him. That shift eliminates half your anxiety. Examine your communication patterns. Are you over-explaining? Are you defending yourself excessively? Are you trying to be understood more than you are trying to understand? High-value communication is concise, grounded, and measured. You state your position once. You do not argue to convince. You do not flood messages to clarify tone. You allow space, and you allow others to reveal themselves through consistency. If they fail, you adjust access without drama. Drama is emotional leakage, and emotional leakage reduces perceived stability. Stability is the backbone of value. Practice controlled responses. Pause before replying. Reduce impulsive texting. Wait 30 minutes before addressing emotional triggers. Write your thoughts privately first, then respond briefly and calmly. Over time, this builds mental endurance, which is the foundation of self-command. Self-command is attractive in every environment, not because it is flashy, but because it signals strength under pressure. Confront the uncomfortable truth that you sometimes choose dynamics where you have to prove yourself, because proving feels safer than leading. Leading requires accepting that some people will not stay, and that acceptance terrifies you more than rejection itself. So you cling subtly, and that subtle clinging lowers your standing immediately. Train yourself to prefer alignment over approval, because approval can be withdrawn, but alignment is stable. Alignment requires standards. Define clearly what you expect in communication, in respect, in effort, and in lifestyle. Write it down, if repeated. Behavior contradicts those standards. You act not with anger, but with withdrawal of investment. Investment without reciprocation is self-betrayal, and repeated self-betrayal erodes confidence. Then you wonder why you doubt yourself in simple conversations when the root cause is months of ignoring your own boundaries. Rebuild self-trust by keeping small promises daily. Drink water when you say you will. Finish tasks on time. Leave environments that drain you. Speak up when something feels off. Each act of self-honor compounds into internal certainty. Internal certainty removes the urge to compete, because once you truly know your worth, you no longer scan for rivals. You evaluate compatibility. That evaluation keeps you grounded. When you are grounded, you do not rush intimacy. You do not overshare too early. You do not place someone on a pedestal before they demonstrate character. That pacing communicates abundance, even if your options are few, because abundance is psychological, not numerical. When you internalize that, you stop chasing intensity and start prioritizing consistency. Consistency reveals character. Character determines long-term success. This is where disciplined philosophy becomes practical. You separate what is within your control, your actions, your mindset, your schedule, your standards, from what is outside your control, someone else's feelings, someone else's timing, someone else's choices. You invest energy only where you have authority. That redirection of energy increases output in every area of life. As output increases, so does confidence. As confidence increases, so does composure. As composure increases, so does respect. Relationships stop feeling like unstable ground and start feeling like optional enhancements to an already solid life. That is the transformation you seek. Not dominance over others, but mastery over self. When you master yourself, you no longer tolerate dynamics that shrink you. You no longer beg for clarity. You no longer interpret distance as condemnation. You remain steady. You remain productive. You remain focused. From that position, you truly act as if you are the best, not through arrogance, but through disciplined self-respect. When you consistently operate from disciplined self-respect, no one stands above you because you refuse to stand beneath yourself. And if rebuilding that disciplined self-respect feels bigger than you know how to handle alone, the Stoic Relationship Blueprint ebook for men was created exactly for this moment, filled with timeless principles that teach you how to control your reactions, strengthen your mind, raise your standards, and act from unshakable inner authority in relationships. It breaks down step by step how to stop overthinking, stop chasing validation, and build the kind of grounded confidence that changes how people treat you immediately. It is now available in audiobook form, so you can listen while walking, training, commuting, or sitting alone thinking about the life you know you are capable of building. The link is in the comments. Number 2. Stop seeking approval. You say you want respect, yet you constantly adjust yourself to be liked, and that contradiction quietly destroys your position in every relationship, because approval-seeking is subtle submission disguised as kindness, and you live in it more than you admit. Since you monitor tone, you edit messages 3 times before sending, you rehearse responses in your head, and you measure your worth by how warmly someone reacts to you, and that habit trains your mind to believe your value depends on external acceptance, which means you never stand on solid ground because your emotional state rises and falls based on someone else's mood. And when you operate like that, you become hyper-aware of shifts in energy, delayed replies, short answers, or reduced enthusiasm. And instead of remaining steady, you compensate by giving more attention, more explanation, more reassurance, thinking that increased effort restores balance. But it actually signals insecurity, because when someone senses that you need their approval to remain stable, the dynamic tilts instantly, and you lose leverage without realizing it. So you must confront the uncomfortable truth that your need to be liked overrides your need to be respected, and respect always outranks approval in long-term attraction and long-term stability, because approval can be given to anyone, while respect must be earned through consistency and internal strength. And internal strength begins with detaching your identity from praise or criticism, meaning you no longer interpret disagreement as rejection. You no longer interpret emotional distance as abandonment, and you no longer rush to repair tension simply to restore comfort, because comfort is not the goal, alignment is, and alignment requires that you risk disapproval by standing firmly in your values. And this is where discipline enters, because discipline is not only physical training or work ethic, it is emotional restraint under pressure. It is choosing not to explain yourself repeatedly. It is choosing not to chase when attention fades. It is choosing not to beg for clarity when behavior already gives you information. And you apply this practically by slowing down every reaction, by giving yourself a rule that you never respond immediately to emotionally charged situations, by creating space between stimulus and response. And in that space, you decide rather than react. And that decision point is where power returns to you, because a reactive person seeks harmony at any cost, while a grounded person seeks truth regardless of comfort. And you begin to notice how often you overextend yourself to avoid being misunderstood, how often you apologize for things that are not wrong, how often you soften your tone to avoid appearing firm. And each time you do that, you teach others that your boundaries are flexible, and flexible boundaries invite pressure, and pressure reveals weakness. So instead you start practicing calm assertiveness, where you state your position once without defensive energy, without emotional charge, without long justifications, and you allow silence to follow without scrambling to fill it, because composure communicates certainty more than explanation ever will, and you retrain yourself by tracking moments of approval, seeking throughout your day, writing them down, analyzing what triggered them, and asking whether your reaction aligns with your long-term identity. And when you consistently choose identity over approval, you notice a shift where you become less anxious about outcomes and more focused on standards. And standards simplify decisions, because if behavior contradicts your expectations repeatedly, you adjust access rather than arguing endlessly. And this adjustment is not dramatic. It is measured, it is calm, it is consistent, and that consistency builds internal trust. And internal trust eliminates the need to constantly check where you stand, because when you trust yourself, you no longer chase reassurance. And when you no longer chase reassurance, you naturally project steadiness. And steadiness attracts maturity while repelling instability. And you must accept that some people withdraw when you stop overgiving, and that withdrawal is not loss, it is filtration. Because those who stay when you stand firm value your presence rather than your compliance, and that realization frees you from performing for acceptance, and performance is exhausting because it requires constant monitoring, while authenticity supported by discipline requires only self-control. And self-control is built daily through habits that reinforce independence, such as maintaining your routine regardless of romantic fluctuations, continuing your goals regardless of emotional highs or lows, investing in growth even when attention is abundant, and not allowing praise to inflate you, nor criticism to shrink you. And when you operate from that balanced state, you stop interpreting every interaction as a test of worth, and you begin viewing interactions as opportunities to observe compatibility, and that shift alone reduces anxiety dramatically because you are no longer trying to win approval. You are assessing alignment, and assessment requires clarity rather than desperation. And clarity emerges when you separate what you can control from what you cannot. Controlling your behavior, your speech, your schedule, your reactions, while releasing attempts to control how someone perceives you. And the moment you stop trying to manage perception, you reclaim mental energy that was previously wasted on over-analysis, and you redirect that energy into competence, strength, financial stability, intellectual growth, and physical health. And as your competence expands, your need for approval contracts, because your confidence becomes evidence-based rather than praise-based. And evidence-based confidence remains stable regardless of who stays or leaves. And when you reach that state, you no longer text to secure reassurance. You text to communicate. You no longer compliment to gain validation. You compliment because you choose to. You no longer fear disagreement. You welcome it as data, and you no longer chase closure from inconsistent behavior because you accept that behavior itself is closure. And this mindset transforms your entire relational experience, because instead of being driven by anxiety, you are driven by principle. And principle-driven behavior creates predictability, and predictability builds trust, and trust builds respect, and respect sustains connection longer than approval ever could. And when you consistently operate without seeking approval, you become internally anchored. And once you are anchored, you stop shrinking in conversations. You stop second-guessing simple statements. You stop interpreting neutral events as personal attacks. And you begin walking through relationships with calm confidence, not because you control others, but because you control yourself. And that self-control is the quiet advantage that changes everything. Number 3, set clear boundaries. Boundaries are not speeches, they are decisions backed by behavior. And most problems in relationships begin the moment standards are communicated verbally but never enforced practically. Because inconsistency between words and action signals weakness immediately, and weakness invites repeated testing, whether intentional or unconscious. And the uncomfortable truth is that many tolerate what frustrates them because confrontation feels risky, because loss feels threatening, because being alone appears heavier than being disrespected. And that trade quietly destroys self-respect from the inside, since every time behavior crosses a line and access remains unchanged, the mind registers self-betrayal, and repeated self-betrayal erodes confidence faster than rejection ever could. So the first correction is internal clarity, meaning standards must be written, defined, and reviewed rather than vaguely assumed, since undefined boundaries cannot be enforced, and unclear expectations create self-doubt when crossed. So define precisely what consistency means, what respect looks like, what communication frequency aligns with your lifestyle, what behavior is unacceptable in public and private. And once those standards are clear, enforcement becomes simple, because enforcement is not loud, it is measured, it is controlled, It is immediate adjustment in access, not emotional argument. And this is where discipline separates stability from chaos, because discipline prevents reactive outbursts and replaces them with deliberate consequence. And consequence does not require raised voices or dramatic ultimatums. It requires reduced availability, shifted investment, redirected energy, and calm detachment. And that detachment is not punishment. It is alignment with principle, since principle must outrank emotion, or emotion will dictate decisions, and decisions driven by short-term comfort often create long-term regret. So when plans are cancelled repeatedly without accountability, response is not persuasion but recalibration, meaning effort is matched rather than exceeded, meaning energy mirrors effort without hostility, meaning time is redirected to priorities rather than waiting for validation. And this simple behavioral shift communicates far more than confrontation ever could, because consistent action establishes seriousness, while repeated warnings signal insecurity, and insecurity encourages further testing, and testing continues as long as there are no consequences. So calm enforcement must replace emotional reaction, and calm enforcement begins with emotional regulation, which is developed through daily habits that strengthen restraint, such as pausing before responding, delaying difficult conversations until composure is steady, and never addressing conflict while agitated, because agitation reduces credibility while composure increases authority, and authority in relationships does not mean dominance over another person. It means control over personal response, and response control is built by separating external events from internal reaction, recognizing that someone else's behavior is data rather than an attack, information rather than insult. And when information contradicts standards repeatedly, exit becomes an option rather than a threat. And this readiness to withdraw without chaos shifts internal power dramatically, because fear of loss is replaced by acceptance of reality, and acceptance reduces emotional volatility, and reduced volatility increases respect. And respect is the currency that sustains long-term connection, not tolerance of poor behavior. And many remain trapped in cycles where small acts of disrespect are minimized until they become patterns, and patterns become normal, and normal becomes expectation, and expectation becomes resentment, and resentment builds distance, and distance erodes connection. And all of it could have been prevented by early enforcement of small boundaries, because small violations ignored evolve into larger violations tolerated. So early correction is strength, not overreaction, and strength is consistent rather than explosive, meaning boundaries are enforced at the first sign of repeated misalignment, not after months of frustration. And this requires courage, because enforcing boundaries risks temporary loss, but refusing to enforce them guarantees long-term dissatisfaction. And dissatisfaction drains ambition, drains clarity, drains focus, which then impacts career, health, and overall direction. So boundaries are not only relational tools, they are self-preservation mechanisms. And self-preservation aligned with discipline builds internal stability. And stability becomes attractive because it signals that emotional chaos will not be entertained. And when that signal is consistent, only those aligned with stability remain, and others filter out naturally without argument. And this filtration saves time and mental energy redirected toward growth compounds rapidly, strengthening posture, tone, and decision-making. And when posture, tone, and decisions align with principle, perception shifts, because consistency between words and behavior builds credibility, and credibility builds respect, and respect sustains connection, and connection built on respect lasts longer than connection built on fear of abandonment. And fear of abandonment often drives boundary erosion, since fear whispers that compromise equals survival, but compromise without principle equals self-erasure, and self-erasure produces insecurity that manifests as overthinking, over-explaining and overcompensating, and overcompensating signals low standards, and low standards invite repetition of behavior that triggered frustration initially. So the correction is simple though uncomfortable. Standards are defined, communicated briefly, enforced consistently, and if misalignment persists, departure is executed calmly without revenge or hostility, because revenge indicates emotional attachment to outcome, while calm departure indicates internal authority, and internal authority is cultivated daily through discipline in physical health, financial responsibility, intellectual growth, and emotional restraint. Since strength in one domain reinforces strength in another, and a person strong in routine does not collapse in relational tension, and someone grounded in purpose does not tolerate prolonged misalignment. And this grounded presence transforms relational dynamics entirely, because boundaries cease to be defensive measures and become natural expressions of self-respect. And self-respect consistently expressed eliminates confusion about where lines exist, and clear lines reduce conflict, and reduced conflict increases stability, and stability nurtures long-term alignment, and this entire structure rests on one principle practiced daily: control actions, release outcomes, enforce standards, remain composed, and never negotiate away self-respect for temporary comfort, because temporary comfort fades quickly while compromised identity lingers, and acting as if no one stands above you begins with refusing to place yourself beneath your own standards. And once that internal hierarchy is corrected, external behavior aligns accordingly. Number 4. Never compete. Comparison quietly corrodes confidence long before any real threat appears, and the moment attention shifts toward another person, the mind begins constructing imaginary rivals, replaying conversations, analyzing social media interactions, measuring status, appearance, income, humor, and influence. And that internal competition starts draining focus from personal growth and redirects energy toward outperforming someone who may not even be invested. And this reactive positioning reduces presence, because instead of operating from grounded identity, the behavior becomes performance-based, and performance driven by insecurity is detectable immediately since tone tightens, effort increases artificially, humor becomes forced, generosity becomes strategic, and authenticity fades under pressure. And the more energy invested in outshining another person, the less energy remains for building actual competence, which is the only real long-term advantage in any relational dynamic. And competence is built quietly through discipline, skill development, financial stability, physical health, emotional regulation, and intellectual depth, not through impressing someone in the moment. And when attention is diverted toward proving superiority, the foundation weakens because validation replaces purpose as the driver. And once validation becomes primary, the dynamic shifts, since approval is never stable currency. It fluctuates based on mood, novelty, and circumstance, and relying on it creates volatility. So the correction begins by reframing perceived competition as information rather than threat, because another person's presence reveals preference patterns, boundaries, and expectations. And instead of attempting to outshine anyone, the focus returns to self-evaluation, asking whether actions align with long-term identity rather than short-term comparison. And identity rooted in discipline does not scramble for position. It maintains position, and maintaining position means refusing to alter values for approval, refusing to exaggerate achievements for admiration, refusing to overextend financially or emotionally to secure attention, and instead directing energy into measurable progress that strengthens internal confidence, because confidence grounded in achievement does not require external contrast to remain stable, and stability is powerful since it communicates abundance without announcement, And abundance is psychological before it is circumstantial, meaning even in environments where options are limited, posture remains steady, because worth is not measured against others, it is measured against personal standards, and personal standards eliminate the need to chase attention through dramatic gestures, since attention earned through authenticity lasts longer than attention captured through competition. And when someone attempts to provoke jealousy or comparison, the response becomes calm observation rather than reactive escalation, because reacting emotionally hands over control while remaining composed preserves authority. And authority in this context is self-command, the ability to maintain direction regardless of external stimuli, and direction anchored in purpose creates resilience, since setbacks or perceived rivals no longer threaten identity. They simply test discipline, and discipline responds by doubling down on routine rather than spiraling into insecurity, maintaining training schedules, maintaining productivity, maintaining social connections outside romance, and maintaining clarity of goals that extend beyond relational validation. And this consistency reinforces internal hierarchy, where personal growth outranks temporary emotional triggers. And when growth outranks triggers, perception shifts naturally, because attention is no longer consumed by comparison. And the absence of comparison removes envy, removes desperation, removes impulsive behavior, replacing them with quiet competence that commands respect organically. And respect built on competence endures longer than admiration built on performance. And over time, this shift changes relational dynamics entirely, since the need to compete dissolves and is replaced with selective evaluation, meaning compatibility becomes the focus rather than rivalry. And compatibility simplifies decisions, because misalignment becomes disqualifying rather than motivating. And once misalignment loses its motivational pull, comparison loses its power. And without comparison, insecurity has no foundation. And without insecurity, actions become measured, speech becomes concise, posture becomes grounded, and grounded presence signals strength without aggression. And strength without aggression invites mutual respect rather than reactive power struggles. And this is where transformation becomes visible, because instead of competing for validation, energy is redirected into self-expansion. And self-expansion compounds quietly but relentlessly, strengthening financial independence, strengthening social circles, strengthening physical condition, strengthening mental clarity. And with each strengthened domain, reliance on relational validation decreases further, and once validation is no longer, central competition becomes irrelevant, because there is nothing to prove, only standards to uphold. And standards rooted in discipline create peace within, and peace within removes the urge to chase position outside, and acting as if no one stands above you begins here, in refusing to stand below anyone internally through comparison, because internal equality eliminates the desire to outperform for approval, and that psychological independence changes everything. Number 5. Be ready to walk away. Attachment without readiness to detach creates silent captivity, and captivity disguised as commitment keeps many trapped in dynamics that shrink ambition, lower standards, and generate quiet resentment, because fear of losing connection overrides self-respect. And when fear becomes the driving force, decisions become reactive rather than principled, and reactive decisions often sacrifice long-term dignity for short-term relief, such as tolerating repeated inconsistency, accepting dismissive communication, ignoring intuition, or suppressing dissatisfaction to preserve harmony. And over time, this pattern weakens identity, since each tolerated misalignment signals that maintaining connection ranks above maintaining integrity, and integrity compromised repeatedly erodes confidence at its core. So readiness to walk away is not about detachment from connection, but attachment to principle, meaning the commitment is first to values, then to relationships. And when values are prioritized, clarity increases because misalignment becomes visible earlier and easier to address. And this clarity reduces anxiety, since uncertainty is replaced with decision-making power. And decision-making power strengthens posture because presence no longer depends on someone else's behavior. And this transformation begins with practical preparation rather than emotional declarations. Strengthening financial independence to remove economic dependency. Strengthening physical health to build discipline and confidence. Strengthening friendships to ensure emotional support outside romance. And strengthening purpose so that daily focus extends beyond relational outcomes. And when life contains multiple pillars, reliance on one person diminishes naturally, and diminished reliance reduces fear, and reduced fear increases leverage because departure becomes a real option rather than an empty threat. And the knowledge that departure is possible changes tone, changes posture, changes pacing, because urgency disappears and calm evaluation replaces anxiety. And calm evaluation reveals patterns clearly without emotional distortion. And once patterns are clear, action follows principle rather than impulse. Meaning boundaries are enforced consistently, and if repeated violations persist, separation is executed without dramatic escalation, because drama signals attachment to outcome, while calm departure signals internal certainty. And internal certainty commands respect, whether the relationship continues or ends. And readiness to walk away does not require hostility or revenge. It requires acceptance that not all connections align with long-term growth. And acceptance removes desperation. And desperation is the primary factor that traps many in cycles of compromise. And compromise of minor preferences is healthy, while compromise of core standards is destructive. So discernment becomes critical, distinguishing between negotiable preferences and non-negotiable principles, writing them down, reviewing them weekly, and measuring relational behavior against them objectively rather than emotionally. And this objectivity is cultivated through daily mental discipline, where attention is directed toward controllable actions rather than uncontrollable reactions, focusing on improving self rather than controlling others. And this inward focus strengthens resilience because outcomes no longer dictate self-worth. And once self-worth is detached from relational continuity, the possibility of walking away no longer triggers panic. And absence of panic enables rational conversation, rational boundaries, rational exits if necessary. And this rational approach transforms relational experience entirely, since fear-driven attachment dissolves and is replaced with principle-driven connection. And principle-driven connection attracts stability because stability recognizes stability. And those unwilling to respect standards filter out naturally when enforcement is consistent, and filtering reduces chaos, and reduced chaos increases focus on growth, and growth enhances every domain of life, reinforcing confidence further. And with reinforced confidence, departure loses its terror because identity remains intact regardless of outcome, and identity anchored in discipline does not crumble under relational shifts. It adapts, recalibrates, and continues progressing, and this progression becomes the true source of security rather than external validation. And security derived from progress rather than possession cannot be taken away. And once security becomes internal, relationships transform from necessity into choice, and choice restores power, and power expressed calmly reshapes dynamics because behavior adjusts around unwavering standards, and unwavering standards signal that self-respect is permanent. And when self-respect is permanent, connection becomes healthier since it is built on mutual value rather than fear of loss. And acting as if no one stands above you culminates here in the unwavering readiness to preserve identity over attachment, because identity protected consistently becomes unshakable. And from that unshakable center, Life expands rather than contracts. Relationships enhance rather than define, and departure, when required, becomes evolution rather than devastation. Most people stay trapped in cycles of doubt, approval-seeking and quiet compromise because no one hands them a framework for discipline, and society benefits when you remain distracted, emotionally reactive, and unsure of your worth. But the moment you decide to operate from principle instead of impulse, your entire reality shifts. The Stoic Relationship Blueprint ebook for men is filled with timeless Stoic principles that immediately sharpen your mindset, strengthen your standards, and teach you how to move through modern relationships with calm authority instead of confusion. And it is now available in audiobook form, so you can absorb this life-changing knowledge while walking, training, commuting, or building your future. The link is in the comments, and once you own it, it is yours permanently, a blueprint you return to whenever your discipline needs recalibration. If you are done wasting years repeating the same mistakes, comment, "I choose discipline," so you make that decision publicly. Like the video and subscribe, because every share pushes these truths to another man who needs them and saves him years of regret.